The political landscape today is marked by a fundamental truth that too many policymakers are either unwilling or unable to confront. The status quo is unsustainable. The world's increasingly chaotic migration patterns, driven by war, poverty, and exploitation, are no longer a mere backdrop of concern. They are a critical issue undermining both national security and the integrity of governments. Those who continue to turn a blind eye to the ever-expanding crisis of illegal immigration are not only neglecting their duty but are complicit in allowing organized crime and human suffering to thrive. Let's be clear, illegal migration is not just an inconvenience, it is a serious, growing threat to the very fabric of national security. For far too long, Western nations, including the UK, have allowed themselves to be paralyzed by ineffective policies and half-hearted solutions. It's not about the politics of migration anymore. It's about protecting citizens, ensuring the integrity of borders, and prioritizing the safety of the most vulnerable, those trapped in this horrific trade, exploited by ruthless gangs. This is a matter of survival, social survival, economic survival, and national survival. At the heart of the migration issue is the dark, exploitative business of people smuggling. It is a global scourge that cannot be underestimated or ignored any longer. The gangs orchestrating these operations are not mere criminals. They are orchestrating an enterprise that fuels instability, encourages illegal work, and endangers entire communities. What these gangs do is nothing short of criminal enterprise on an international scale, driven solely by profit, at any cost. For too long, governments have tiptoed around these problems, sending a message that weakens their resolve and emboldens these smugglers. It's time for a no-nonsense approach. Some would have you believe that addressing illegal migration and smuggling requires a soft touch, empathy, nuanced diplomacy, and endless dialogue. To those people, I ask, how much longer are we going to ignore the harsh reality of the situation? Do we continue to allow vulnerable people to be ruthlessly exploited because of some misplaced ideal of compassion? Compassion cannot exist in the absence of law and order. It cannot be extended to the traffickers who feed off human misery. It cannot be given to the criminals profiting off the backs of people desperate enough to risk their lives in flimsy boats and overcrowded camps. The evidence is overwhelming. Governments across the globe are failing to take decisive action. Too many political leaders are too afraid to make the hard decisions because they fear the backlash or the accusations of being heartless. What they don't realize is that by not acting decisively, they are doing more harm to those they claim to protect. These so-called leaders are leaving their citizens exposed to the consequences of illegal migration. Whether it's the unsustainable strain on social services, the exploitation of local labor markets, or the national security risks posed by porous borders, the truth is undeniable. This is not an abstract issue. It's one that impacts real lives, real communities, and real economies. One might argue that the sheer scale of the problem is insurmountable, that tackling this issue will only lead to further international tensions or crises. That argument is a cop-out. The failure to act will lead to further chaos, increased criminal activity, and, ultimately, a loss of public trust in the system. This is not just a humanitarian crisis, it is a crisis of governance. Governments are meant to protect their citizens, to ensure stability and order. By allowing the human trafficking business to operate unchecked, they are failing in their most basic duty. The good news is that we have the tools to fight back. We can make significant progress through international cooperation, through improved intelligence sharing, and by putting real pressure on countries that allow their territories to be used as staging grounds for these criminal operations. The key to breaking this trade is not simply building walls or closing borders. It is about dismantling the network that facilitates it, from the smugglers to the corrupt officials who turn a blind eye. This means taking decisive action at the local, national, and international levels, building a collaborative framework to close the gaps in intelligence, operations, and policy. However, it's not just about international partnerships, it's about taking responsibility on home soil. For years, the UK's immigration policies have been fragmented, leaving loopholes that allowed illegal migration to thrive. It's a failure of leadership, nothing short of it. The answer is not creating more ineffective schemes like the Rwanda plan, which wasted taxpayer money on a pie-in-the-sky idea. The answer is about investing in real, practical solutions, stronger border control, more effective policing, and enforcement of right-to-work checks to ensure that illegal migrants cannot undercut honest businesses or exploit vulnerable communities. Governments need to show they mean business, by shutting down illegal working, dismantling smuggling rings, and deporting individuals who have no right to be in the country. It's high time that we stop pretending this problem can be solved through weak diplomatic gestures and symbolic gestures. The issue is larger than that, it's global, and it's urgent. Leaders need to be ready to take aggressive, hardline action, both at home and abroad. If they don't, they risk losing the support of the people who elected them in the first place. The people are tired of false promises and ineffective measures. They want solutions. They want borders that are protected and policies that work. And they want a government that is willing to put their needs ahead of empty platitudes and ineffective international agreements. We must act decisively, relentlessly, and with full commitment. The time for debate is over. The time for action is now.